Thank you for coming. I'm Rafael Aisner, and I'd like to start by thanking Queen and Ritz Carlton residents for inviting me and creating this beautiful environment, and all of you for coming here. So I'd like to show you a short 2-minute little video that kind of sums up what I'm doing, why I'm here, and then from there I'll give a little talk and then we'll do a little exercise. Okay.
So you're successful. Now what? You've already discovered that having a lot of money is great, but deep down, there's still something missing, and you're not quite sure what it is. Some of you can't stop your mind. Some of you are struggling to sleep. And for some of you, the noise, the emptiness, and the loneliness keeps growing. So what's the answer? Do you keep taking the blue pill, hoping more money, more adventure, more success, or maybe the next NLP technique will give you the relief you desperately need? Or will you choose the red pill? Let go of who you thought you were and what you think this world is. To be able to turn off your mind in a heartbeat, effortlessly, dropping into inner calm and peace and being able to stay there. If you answered yes, then we may be able to help you. However, we cannot help you if you are not coachable. If your mind's mental image of who you think you are is too precious to let go of, then please stay with the blue pill. But if you are ready to experience an alive, awakened life where you feel you belong, you feel you are at home, making a massive difference, accessing as much abundance as you need, then you may be the kind of person we can help. Hi, I'm Rafael. I'm part of a team of enlightened entrepreneurs who have mastered the matrix, and we're on a mission to make this world a better place. To do this, you will need a new operating system. You have to rewire and reprogram all of you. We call it Thriveware. What does it do? It allows you to channel millions of dollars for the betterment of all life on Earth while feeling complete inner peace and oneness. Yes, there are entry requirements. So if you feel you are ready for the red pill, then contact us using the link provided.
Right, so here we are, top of the world. And it takes work to get here. We need to take massive action. Most people will not take massive action. Most people will stay where they are, stay in their comfort zone, and even go out asking for handouts. But there's some of us who love to step up. We're here to make a difference. And the thing about stepping up and taking massive action is that we have to put so much effort in. The world we live in, 24/7, 365 days, go, go, go. To be able to afford and appreciate this quality of lifestyle, we really need to, well, we need to sweat. We need to bleed. We need to work hard. Otherwise, we stay like everybody, like most people. And to get up here, we're at the top 1%, and we're even at the top 1% of the top 1%. So, the thing that I'm most interested in is finding people who, first of all, have what it takes to take massive action and step up. Aren't afraid to get a little dirty, aren't afraid to bleed a little bit. But then, I'm interested in people who would like to go beyond that and learn how to do this effortlessly. Right? So if you're the kind of person that would like more anxiety, more stress, more suffering, more headaches, less sleep, then I'm the wrong person to talk to. I'm a little dangerous to that. My job is to help you figure out how to sabotage that unhealthy mechanism and learn how to thrive. Because the reality is that the world that we live in, the butterflies, the mango trees, the dolphins, even the cockroaches, they're not struggling to survive. The weak die, the mediocre survive, and the fit thrive. Butterflies don't need to have all those colors. Mangoes don't need to be this delicious. And imagine a mango tree that puts out one poor, weak little mango. They don't. They explode with fruit. And to be part of life on this planet means that you're born with everything you need to be able to have creative explosions of abundance, of creativity, of intuition, And in order to do that, like I say in my video, you need to change the operating system that was given to us, what we're born with. So I'm curious to know if this is something that you're interested in. Because you have access to it, and you have everything you need to be able to do that. And I'd like to just start by saying that everything I'm going to share with you comes from my own direct experience in life. This is how I live my life. It's how, with John Joe, with my partner, how we live our lives. So there's no philosophy, there's no dogma, I'm not here to sell anything. All of my work is open source. I share everything that I've learned open source so anyone can do it for themselves. And then, of course, I do make myself available to help people who would like to save a lot of time. But the important thing is that you know that this is possible. So if you're interested, just raise your hand and say, I.
I.
So religion.
I know.
I'll be stuck with it like this only.
All right, we'll see what I can do to boost you. I'd like to start by giving you a little bit of background. I was born in Lima, Peru in 1966. I'm 53. I'm born to children of expats and immigrants that left Europe during and after the World Wars and the Spanish Civil War. My father's family went to Peru. They're from France and Spain and Russia. My mother's family from Spain and England, Ireland, and Germany, and they went to Chile. So I was born into a European family, a well-off, upper-class, bourgeois, little petit bourgeois European family in South America. And I lived in Peru until I was 4 years old. My parents divorced. My mother then decided to move to the US where she met a Peruvian. She married a Peruvian in the US, and then I was raised as a Latino in the United States, on the East Coast, in Connecticut, near New York. When I was 5 years old, 6 years old, I realized that I didn't really know where I was and I didn't fit in anywhere. And I began noticing something. I noticed that some people would walk around full of life, and there were a lot of people that just looked like zombies, like they weren't there. And I started playing this little game. I called it Kill the Dead Guys. When people weren't looking, I'd point my hand out and go, I'd say, I just killed you and you don't even know it because you're already dead. And I'd play this game with teachers, with anybody that looked dead, I'd be like, and I played this for a while, and at one point, I was about 7 years old. I went up to my mother and I said, Mom, why do some people look like they're alive and some people look like they're just dead? And she answered me. She said, Mijo, my son, I don't know much about life. We're born without a manual. You got to figure it out yourself. She said, I've heard there are these people in India that are called yogis. They sit in this position called the lotus position. They can stop their breath. They say they can stop their heart. They say they can levitate, they can astral travel. She says, I really don't know. Maybe they know. So I immediately left, sat in a corner, sat in the position, tried to hold my breath. And obviously, that didn't last very long. 30 seconds later, I was breathing again. But I remembered that whenever I run as hard as I can, my heart speeds up. And whenever I breathe as slow as possible, my heart slows down. So I started experimenting with this body. I would run, I would jump, I would hold my breath, I would try to slow down my breath. And I learned to just sit very, very quietly and slow down my breath. And I'll be very honest with you, I never stopped my breath for more than 3 minutes, which is a long time, but still 3 minutes. And I never stopped my heart. I have gotten it down to 50 beats per minute. That's the lowest, the slowest I've gotten it going. I've never levitated. I've never astral traveled or projected. The laws of physics did not change for this little body. But I did discover something. That whenever I was able to sit quietly, especially if I ran first, if I ran really hard, as fast as I could, and I left to sprint, and then afterwards I sat very still and very quiet, I discovered that I could hear and feel my heartbeat in my entire body at once. And doing that was like recharging. It was regenerating, it was relaxing, and I've done that my entire life without calling it anything. I just did it because it felt good. As time went by, I discovered that when I'm sitting in this quiet space, that things come through. insights, ideas, creativity, intuition. So my entire life, I have looked for experiences that speed me up really fast and then slow myself down really, really slow. And there's like a reset that happens. And when that happens, I have intuitive flashes, I have creative flashes. And I'm sure that you've had your moments of intuition and creativity. Isn't that true? Moments where maybe you don't know what's going on and then suddenly, you know. Or moments where you're ready to give up, there's been something horrible, and you just surrender and then, something comes through. Like a little light comes through. It's like a flash of light. So I discovered this, and this started happening to me by the time I was 13 years old. So I became fascinated with studying life, science and life. So I studied biology. When I was 19, I went back to Peru and I studied biology in a medical school, private medical school in Peru. I was just fascinated with how the body works. And then I came back to the US where I did my PhD work in biochemistry and molecular genetics. I wanted to know, how does this body work from the most elemental, basic, simplest things? And I got down, I played with electron microscopes, I sequenced DNA, I even created transgenic organisms. I just loved it. But I also realized that the secrets to life were not there. The secrets to life are in the organic unity of things, in a flower, in a bird singing in the morning, in a sunrise, in a kiss, in a smile. So I left research science. I finished my PhD, but I just left it behind, and I got into education. I started working with kids. And that led me to studying hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming. I was born in Peru. I went back. I studied with shamans in Peru. I go to the jungle and try ayahuasca. I studied with shamans in Mexico and in Nepal. And I got connected with some people who were doing some very interesting research with psychoactive substances in the US. Therapists, engineers, scientists, and doctors. And I spent about 20 years exploring and discovering how to go into your mind and figure out what's there. What I discovered was that our mind is made of thoughts and experiences. And they're like the Lego blocks that create the mind that we use to navigate through reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. Well, I discovered that you can pull those Lego blocks apart. And you can rearrange them in any way you like. It's almost like getting into the software of your computer, and there's a bug, and you go in there and you code it out. I learned some basic computing coding skills as well. So I started applying that to myself, using NLP, using hypnotherapy, using shamanic tools, using breath work, using yoga, using meditation, using all sorts of things. And learning how to find that quiet space that we all have, where you can have a flash of something. Then when I was 40 years old, I basically figured that I'd made it in life. I had the house, I had the cars, I had the yachts, I had the money, I had the friends, I had the lovers, I had the parties, I had the art, I had everything. And I thought to myself, wow, I'm on top of the world. I'm the king of my kingdom. And I've created the mindset, I've created the conditions to be able to do this. So I thought, I'm going to test this. I'm going to sell everything I have. I'm going to travel around the world and do all the things that I've always wanted to do. Everything that I see people are passionate about. And I'm going to give it a shot. Because I feel like something's missing in my life. I was 40 years old at the time, and that's when I decided to come out to the East. Now, I've been coming to Thailand for about 20 years, and I completely fell in love with Thailand. First time I came to Thailand was in 1999 in September, 20 years almost to the date. And I felt something in my heart, in the north in Chiang Mai, something that I only felt when I was in my grandmother's house. And I thought, I'm going to come back to this country, I'm going to figure out what it is. And it took me 8 years to figure that out, and I finally came back. I've been in Thailand for 13 years. And as I said, I'd sold everything, and I went on a self-funded research sabbatical to figure myself out in this part of the world. And then my intention was to, when I finished with all of my money, see what would happen if I could start from zero in a land where I don't fit in, just to see what would happen. Just like a little seed of grass that's blown by the wind and it lands on a little bit of dirt somewhere, and it sprouts and it can grow. I wanted to test myself to see if I could do that. And so I came to Thailand, and I got my pilot's license, I took courses for singing, for guitar, for keyboards, for painting, for drawing. I deepened my yoga practice, I deepened my meditation practice, I studied martial arts, I studied gemology, diamonds, jewelry design. I just studied everything. And when I was finished studying, and I'd done everything that I could possibly do, and I was living in a beautiful 4-star service luxury apartment just a kilometer away from here, half a kilometer away from here, overlooking the park. I had the most intense mental breakdown and crisis of my life because there wasn't anything else for me to do. And at that moment, when I was ready to throw myself out of the window of my apartment because I just couldn't handle it anymore, I dropped back into my quiet space. And I had a flash of insight. And the insight was this. I've been working my entire life to have the best possible life experience. And every time I do something to have the best possible life experience, something bad happens. Every time I try to go up, I have a peak experience, I end up back down again. But only when I'm doing something to make it happen. Only when I'm using my mind, only when I'm using my ambition, only when I'm taking massive action to make things happen. So I decided to try an experiment, which was to do nothing. Take the resources that I had and simply stop doing. Just simply be present in the moment. And not wiggle a finger, not get up, not get out of bed, not eat, not do anything unless this body wanted to do it all by itself. And something magical happened. This body started all by itself, navigating itself through life. And all of those experiences, those peak experiences of the best meals, the best massages, the best trips, the best journeys, all the things that, well, if we're here, it's because we like to have the best experiences, isn't it? I discovered that what I loved the most about those best experiences was that I was so totally involved that while that was happening, I didn't exist as a separate idea, as a separate form, as a separate sense of self. So around that time, I met Chandra, and Chandra has been through quite an intense experience, and she was ready to try something different. So we took the last bit that we had, and we went to a beautiful place up in Chiang Mai. We created a little place where she could try to see if she could pull apart all the Lego blocks of her mind and rearrange them in a way that worked in the world of today. Right? Does that make sense? It's like, I have a smartphone, and every once in a while, I need an update for it. I can't use the same operating system forever. I have to update the operating system. And what if our minds are the software for this thinking, feeling biocomputer that we have as our bodies? We're born without minds. I mean, we're born with brains, we have fingers, toes, eyes. Most of us are born with everything we need, but we're born without minds. Our minds are given to us. They start with our name. They start with somebody looking at us and going, ma, ba, 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 right? And then they say, Rafael, Rafael, Rafael. And think about it. How many times did your parents have to say your name before you got it? They said it once, and you're like, oh yeah, that's me, I'm Rafael. Right? Thanks. No, you've got to hear it millions of times. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. And what I discovered is that we imprint our minds, and then we're taught to create these minds that never stop. And to be able to reach this level of success, you need a mind that doesn't stop. You need to be able to take massive action. So, what if you need to learn how to take massive action? You need to step up. But once you step up and you reach a certain level, you can let go. You can use the beautiful space you've created for yourself. You can use the resources that you have to be able to recreate your mind. Create a mind that allows you to start from here. Kind of like a rocket or a space shuttle, right? It's got these giant rocket boosters that shoot it up. And they're the most powerful thing that they need. It just flies up high, high, high. And then when it reaches a critical point, when you break out of gravity, the rockets drop away. Because you don't need them anymore. There is a point where you need to take massive action, and then there's a point where you can just stop and relax. And in order to do that, you need to be able to stop and reboot your mind. Now, most people discover early on easy ways to stop your mind. You can drink, you can smoke, you can do drugs. Violence will do it, sex will do it. Near-death experiences will do it, right? People climb mountains and jump out of airplanes and do all sorts of stuff. And that's all great, it's all beautiful. I'm a pilot, I'm a sailor, I'm a paraglider, I'm a scuba diver. I've tried, the only thing I have not done is gone into outer space yet. And I'm looking forward to being able to do that soon. Right? So, what I've developed, and what I'm here to share, for people who've already learned how to take massive action, who've already reached a certain level of quality in their lives, is how to stop and reboot this. Because when you can stop and reboot this, the body sort of straightens itself out. It relaxes, because this is intense. And the emotions, well, we tend to repress our emotions. We tend to have convinced ourselves that there's good emotions and bad emotions. That being angry or being sad is bad and negative, and you should repress it. That if there's a monster inside of you, that you should push it down, that you should squash it, that you should kill it. And it turns out that the more you do that, the more it comes back up again. So what I want to do for myself, and then Chandra and I learned how to do together as a team, and with our daughter that we adopted, who also came from a very difficult experience, very difficult background. The three of us learned how to create environments for ourselves where we can fully reset ourselves. And when we came to visit Ritz Carlton residence, this building, the three of us instantly knew that this was the perfect place to do that. That it's in the perfect location. It's in one of the most amazing and craziest cities in the world. So you have access to everything. All the good and all the bad is available here. And it allows you to have a complete love-hate relationship with this place. I've gone from absolutely loving it to absolutely hating it to loving it again, right? And I'm sure you've experienced it. And especially this amazing country is going through some growing pains, as all cultures do one way or another. You know, the wheel of karma spins, and what comes up must come down. This country's been up very high for a long time. It's kind of looping around. It'll loop back around, as they all do. But we have the special opportunity, because we can be here, we have an opportunity to learn how to use this space to rejuvenate ourselves, to refresh ourselves, to completely remaster ourselves. And in order to do that, there's three basic things we need to do. Very simple stuff. The first thing is we need to take care of this body, this vessel. I'd like for you to just take a moment, look at your hands. Just look at your hands. Give them a little clap. Yep. Touch yourself, go like this. And repeat after me. Ready? I am a thinking, feeling body.
I am a thinking, feeling body.
With emotions.
With emotions.
And a mind.
And a mind.
Full of thoughts.
Full of thoughts.
I'm not the thoughts. I'm not the emotions. I'm a thinking, feeling body. And if you can anchor yourself into your body, yoga, dancing, surfing, sailing, flying an airplane or a helicopter, bungee jumping, whatever you love to do, this body, it's very simple. The chances of this body waking up healthy, relaxed, fresh, and energized all by itself for no reason whatsoever at all, it works like this. If you give it the best food, good exercise, great massage, a great bed with the best pillow, with the best sheets, in a beautiful, protected environment, the chances are really high. If you mistreat it, if you poison it, if you abuse it, well, then this body's not going to wake up feeling happy and good all by itself. It's just a very simple, just like your cats, like a dog, like anything. If it's treated properly, it's just happy all by itself. It enjoys. It doesn't need anything to be happy. It just needs to have good food, good rest, good play, right? Good dancing, good loving. And if you need to have a fight, a good fight. It has to be ready to fight if it has to, right? We have teeth, we have claws. Not very strong, but we can do that. So that's that. So if you're here, I'll take it as a fact you have the resources to give your body the best. And if you're not, you need to know that the chances of the body for no reason whatsoever being happy and healthy are going to be lower. So you give it the best of whatever tastes best, feels best, and I have a simple rule. It's before during and after. I can get a green light, a go on something that's going to taste or feel good before thinking about it. Ooh, I'm going to have this meal, or I'm going to get this massage, or I'm going to go, do this exercise. During, it feels great during. It might be a little painful, but it still feels good. And then after, that's all this body needs, just by the base, the essence, the root, right? Imagine a plant, right, that's going to produce flowers. If you want the flowers to come out, do you pull and squeeze on the flowers, or do you take care of the roots? You take care of the roots, right? So think of this as the root, right? Now, this plant, this body, this life form, has an energy that flows through it. We call those emotions, energy and motion. Emotions are a spectrum. It's like light. You put it through a prism and you get a rainbow that comes out. You get all the colors that come out. The energy of this body expresses itself in all of the emotions. If you decide that you don't like the color orange, and you don't like the color red, and you don't like the green, but you like the blue and the yellow, the light gets filtered out. It's no longer pure white light anymore. Same with our emotions. If you decide that you only want to be happy, but you never want to be unhappy, that sadness is not very good, that anger is bad, that guilt and shame are terrible, you should never experience them, and you repress your anger, your hatred, your negativity, you're actually cutting your life force. And this body, in order to function, needs its full dynamic range of life force. So we've been taught to repress our emotions to have a beautiful state, to live always happy. I want to always be happy. Well, guess what? You can't do it. You can't choose to be happy without also experiencing unhappiness. What you can do is you can create a safe, beautiful, nurturing space where you can explore your full dynamic range of your emotions. So, you have access to the best food. You sleep on the best bed. You can have the best massages. And then, if you dare, you can choose to explore your deepest, darkest emotions and release them. If you can release the repressed emotions, it's like the channel's all clear. And the body will wake up effortlessly relaxed and happy. Just like that. Happiness is not something you should do something about. Life is a dance, it's a celebration. We humans are the only ones that are messing it up. We're the only ones that are suffering and creating suffering for others. And part of it is because we use our minds to control our lives. We control our bodies, we try to force them into whatever idea we have about it. And we control our emotions to try to maintain a certain small window of, I'm just going to be happy, I'm just going to be sabai, I'm only going to be jayan yan, I'm only going to be, right? And that doesn't work. You can't just force your body to have only one experience. As soon as you try, as soon as you let go, the pendulum swings in the other direction. Right? So, a body that eats and sleeps and rests and plays and fights and loves the way it can, whatever feels right. That's the simplest thing, and that will bring your chances up. Next, full dynamic range of emotions. There's a great punching bag downstairs. You can put a picture of whoever you're angry with, and you can beat it. Of course, take care of yourself so you don't hurt yourself. You can bite a towel and you can scream. You can write down all of your worst fears, your sadness, your anxiety, your guilt. You can write them down in cursive. You sign it, you date it, then you tear it up. You take it to a safe place and you burn it. And that helps release it. Because you need to be able to experience the full dynamic range of your emotions and of your body. What feels good, what feels bad. And then the last part, that's the trickiest. And I have a course, I've designed a program that I've been working on for the last 10 years for just about anybody to be able to shut the mind off for a moment and just see what's there from a state of no mind. To be able to be in a body that's awake, relaxed, calm, flat emotions, state of no mind, present in the moment. And that requires understanding some things about the mind. The first is that it's software. The second is that we've accumulated bugs and viruses over the last 10,000 years. It's very ancient software. There are some words, there are some concepts that go back at least 100,000 years. I mean, think about it. We've been using fire for a very, very long time. We've passed on the knowledge and the understanding. We've accumulated content that creates our minds. All of our languages go back to very, very, very ancient times. All of our ideas, our cultural beliefs, our ideologies, our philosophies are great. They got us to here. But are they the best mind that we need to thrive in the world of today? And I would say you can do better. I would much rather have an updated version of, for my laptop, for my computer, for my smartphone, than from before. And this is an old iPhone, it's like an iPhone 5, but let's say there was a problem with it. Would you recommend I take it to an iPhone 1 specialist? All right, you take it to a specialist in that area. There's a lot of beautiful disciplines and techniques for clearing the mind. Yoga, meditation, vipassana, going to ashrams, going to retreat centers, going and living in a cave somewhere. And they work to a certain degree because they were techniques and technologies that were designed for minds that were already not functioning very well thousands of years ago. They don't apply to the modern mind of today, which is why some of you may have tried some of these techniques. And you may have had an amazing experience doing a Vipassana retreat somewhere, but then you come back out and your mind starts up again. Isn't that true? And it's interesting because I can go for a walk, and when I'm finished and I sit, my feet stop walking. And I can type all day, and I can draw, and I can play drums, and I can play. And as soon as I'm finished, my hands stop moving. But give me a single thought, and when does this thing stop? Right? Hammer over the head, I might stop it, right? You can shoot drugs, you can snort drugs, you can smoke things, you can abuse alcohol, you can abuse sex, violence, and anything, and that'll give you a temporary relief. But it's not making you sharper, it's not making you smarter. So, I would like to share with you and give you an experience of something that you can do that takes 5 to 7 minutes. That will allow you to completely stop and reset this thing. You interested in trying that? Yeah, would you like to try that? Yeah. In order to do that, we're going to do that in the yoga room a little bit later. I'd like to prep you for it, if I may. Right? So the first question I have, and you don't need to answer, it's just a rhetorical, it's for you. Okay? The question is, are you aware of moments when you're awake? You're not sleeping, you're not like, right? You're awake, you're relaxed. You're not really feeling anything. You're not happy, you're not sad, you're not excited, you're not nothing. You're just no emotions. And your mind is quiet and off. Are you aware of moments like that? Yeah? Can you raise your hand if you want? Yeah. Yep, that's great. Yeah. And
very momentarily.
Very momentarily, right? Yeah. But you are aware of it. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give all of you a very, very simple, the most basic thing for you to do. It's a very simple breathing exercise, right? We're going to breathe to the count of, we'll do it all together right now. That's cool, right? So, sit up, wiggle your bodies, take a nice deep breath. Right. And here's what I would like for you to do. This is the simple one. We'll do the real reset a little bit later in the yoga room. You're going to be laying down to do that. So here's what I'd like you to do. I'm going to count, we're going to breathe to the count of 5. You can do it eyes open or eyes closed, it doesn't matter, just relax. And you're going to breathe in, and it's going to be in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an inhale. You pause for 1 second, and then exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You want to have a nice full inhale. But it's easier if you do it through your mouth than if you do it through your nose, right? So let's go. Ready? Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now keep doing that. Count in your own head. Do it 3 times. And keep doing that. And what I'm going to ask you to notice is, while you're doing this, what happens to the activity of your mind when you reach the top of your breath for that split second? And then what happens at the bottom? What we're looking for is recognizing that there's going to be a pause. And when you get that, you just keep going, or just stop for a second, raise your hand, just make a little signal that you got. Just recognize there's a pause in your mind at the top of your breath, just for a moment. And then it starts up again. And then a pause at the bottom, just for a moment. It starts up again. Do you get that? Do you get a pause? Just a split second pause? Is there anyone that isn't getting it? You're all getting it, right? So isn't it true that you can exist and you can be alive in a state of no mind? Isn't that a fact? I mean, you're just experiencing it right now. Right? It turns out that biologically our bodies are wired so that our minds can stop for a split second. And every breath of your entire life, since the first breath until your last breath, and how that happens, your mind will stop for a split second at the top, and it will stop for a split second at the bottom. And this is a fact. This is essential for our survival. I'll show you how. You've experienced this without even knowing it. How many of you have ever driven home, and you get home, and you don't quite remember if you made a left or a right, a main street, or if you took this turn? How'd you get home? You were thinking about something else, and suddenly you got home. Or you're driving your car, your motorbike, and suddenly you swerve out of the way, and you almost have an accident. You almost hit someone. And you didn't. And you don't even remember seeing the danger. Has that ever happened to anyone? Yeah. That's because we have a secondary sight mechanism that functions when our mind is off. It's like a snapshot of reality. It was very interesting. There was a study that was done with some people that had accidents. They had brain damage, and they could no longer see normally. They would just see a flash, a flash, a flash. So if a bird was flying by, they would see the bird here, then here, then here. You wouldn't have a nice continuous stream of thought, like you guys can see me, and I'm here, and I'm not just like, right? So our bodies are wired in a certain way. Our nervous system functions in a certain way. And it's kind of like a walkie-talkie or a two-way radio. Yeah. When the battery's charged, the antenna's straight, and it's on, it can receive information. Right? It can receive from anyone that's transmitting. But the instant you press the talk button, what does it stop doing? It stops receiving. Well, guess what? Our bodies are wired exactly the same way. Through our brains, through our nervous system, every part of our body is connected. We're an organic unity. The instant you have a thought, a feeling, a hope, a fear, a desire, a stress, a guilt, you're using your mind. You're projecting, you're pressing the talk button on your system. And you are no longer tracking reality with the rest of your body. And our bodies, it's like 50 trillion cells working together. Every cell is intelligent. Every cell is aware of every other cell that's right next to it. That's why when you cut yourself, the cells know to grow back and stop when they've met up again. They're in communication. Every part of your body, every cell, every organ system, the entire systems of organ systems that we have in our body function as an organic unity. And we've trained ourselves to use 10% of that, our brain and our nervous system, 24/7. Go, 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 go. And it doesn't stop unless you're passed out, or drugged, or knocked out, or in a fight, or doing one of these intense things. So we get to miss reality when our minds are on. So I discovered very early on that it's essential to learn how to stop this. Well, it was figured out a long time ago that if you keep people in their heads all the time, that they can't really tell what's real and what isn't. And they're always a little bit afraid, they're always in survival mode, and they're very easy to control and manipulate. And over the last thousands of years, we've developed thought forms, mindsets, ways of approaching reality, of living our lives where we're not fully present. And as children, we're fully present, but we immediately put them in schools and in systems that indoctrinate us to keep going. So, what to do? Well, first, take massive action, work, and get to a certain level, a certain altitude. You're here. You're at the Ritz Carlton. You're pretty high up. We're near the top. We're near the top of the top, right? So congratulations on that. Now, the mind that you use to get you here is not necessarily the mind that you use to go beyond. You can create a new mind. Just like I could put a new operating system in this smart thing. But isn't it true that if I want to put a new operating system in this smart thing, that I have to close the apps that are running in the background, close the windows, save files and all that stuff, and then I have to do a full reset. If I do a full reset, the new operating system can load, right? Well, works the same for us. So, if this makes sense to you, and if you're interested, I would like to. I'll stop talking. I can talk for hours about this. Do some questions and answers if you have any, and then we can go down to the yoga room, and I'll show you a breathing exercise that will just completely blow out. It'll blow your mind. It'll just stop it, and it'll start up again. Now you practice doing this, and you can do the following. You can create a better way of doing things. Just like you have a better operating system or a new app you want to install on your smart device, right? You think about it, you create it. Then, you do a full shutdown and reboot of your mind. And it'll upload and replace things you're taking out. So you can take the content of your old mind and you can take it out bit by bit. You don't need to renounce life. You do not need to renounce riches. You don't need to renounce love and sex and fun and singing and dancing and exploring and go sit in a cave somewhere for 10 years to shut this down, because it does take some time. And if you were to do that, well then when you come back, you'd be 10 years out of date. And you wouldn't know how to function at this level. Because the fact of the matter is there are hundreds of thousands, if not maybe a billion monks and priests and nuns that are working on themselves. They're actually, they want to be the best version of themselves. But they can't leave. Because as soon as they come out, as soon as they're like, well, here's $1 million, go do something. Here's a new lover. They're like, I only know how to be quiet and present in a cave doing nothing with a begging bowl, wearing a robe. That's all I know how to do. I don't know how to do that and enjoy life and live at the Ritz Carlton and have a private jet and fly and use my creativity to, well, do something that makes the world a better place. There's hundreds of trillions of dollars and euros and yens and out there of money available to be used by anyone who has the skills to make the world a better place. And you can upgrade your operating system, and you can put in some apps that'll isolate that current, that currency, just like we isolate electricity using breakers and safety mechanisms so it doesn't shock us. We can be isolated, and we can actually, literally, make a lot of abundance, and run businesses and corporations, and do creative things. And this, sleep, rest well, wake up, relaxed, energized. We don't have to do anything to be happy, because the body is a healthy body, eating the best food, sleeping in the best bed, dancing to the best music. Emotions, they're flat. There's no reason to feel anything. And then if you give me a reason to be extra happy and joyful, I can do that. If there's a reason to be sad, I can be sad, and I can appreciate being sad. Sometimes you need to feel sadness for someone else. How can you feel compassion if you're never going to be sad? Anger, I can feel anger. Do I run around angry? No. If somebody tries to come into my house and hurt, well, I'm a dragon, I'm a monster, I'll show you anger. I don't have to repress it. I can go full range of my entire being. But my baseline default because this body gets the best of the best. That's why it lives here. The emotions are full range, unrepressed. If I need to be happy, I'll be happy. If I need to be sad, I'll be sad. If I need to be angry, I'll be angry. And I'm unapologetically hateful of anything and anyone that's doing something stupid to hurt me or my family or the planet. I hate that. I'm not going to apologize about hating the nonsense, the poison, the pollution that's happening to this planet. But it doesn't affect me. I'm not identified to it. I'm not attached to it. And mind? I create this mind. I'm the one that wants to thrive in all these territories. And you can create your mind. Because you've met all the requirements to do that. And you made it already here. We're going to lay down. And for 2 minutes, we're going to breathe nice, deep, regular. Just relax the body. Then 2 minutes go by, we're going to start breathing medium breaths. 2 minutes. And then 3 minutes, and then the third section, 2 minutes, full breath. What we're going to do is we're going to fill our body with oxygen. We're going to load up with oxygen. That's going to change the pH of our body and make it very alkaline. That's going to change the physical shape of the receptors in our brain and our nervous system. It's going to put them in a certain position. And then after 2 minutes of doing that, your fingers are going to start to tingle, your toes will tingle, it's going to, because we're hyperventilating, we're putting a lot of air in, right? Then, I'll signal you, we're going to take 3 deep, slow, long breaths. We're going to look like this. That's 1. That's 2. Third one. And the third one, we're going to exhale. We're going to tighten every muscle. We're not going to breathe in. We're going to hold empty breath for as long as possible. And our body, because we're tight, is going to burn all the oxygen and turn it into carbon dioxide. And it can't leave the body. So now the pH of the blood, it goes from being very alkaline, from neutral to alkaline, it's going to drop. It's going to become very acidic. Acidic like when you're in the savannah and the leopard, the tiger, the lion jumps out and you start running. And you run as hard as you can because you're going to get eaten. And something will click. And you'll get to a point where you can't not hold your breath anymore. And your body will explode with breath. And at that moment, while we're doing this, I want you to focus on what's happening with your mind. And that will create the conditions to reset your mind. It'll just completely reboot. And it's just breathing. First, you cannot stop breathing and hurt yourself. Breathing is something that happens automatically. I mean, think about it. If we had to control our breathing, we would have died a long time. I would have. Who's aware of every breath they take, right? So, we're going to do this, and I'll go over it. I'll have you practice the last part before we do it, because that's the essential part. The long 3 breaths, the full exhale, tight, 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 hold. You'll be surprised. You'll hold your breath for a long time because you're hyper oxygenated, right? And then the release. Now, when there's a release, you might laugh, you might cry, something will happen. But you'll see what it feels like to be in a body that's just ready to live with this offer. And as soon as you taste that, then you can decide whether you want to keep the old operating system that requires you to have stress and fear and anxiety, or if you want to shift gears and learn how to thrive. And thriving means you don't need stress or anxiety to generate abundance, to be creative, to have a nice life.
So at the end of the 7 minutes, all the fears and tension will go out of us?
So they'll go out of you.
Yeah.
Now here's what's going to happen. This is a very good question. They're going to go out of you, and then you're going to notice that they're going to come back in.
That was my next question.
And here's the most important thing to understand. You know why they're coming back in? Who's putting them in there? Me?
We allow them.
You're creating them. Unconsciously. They're unconsciously there. Now,
How do we stop that?
The first thing we have to do is we have to first recognize, accept, comprehend, understand physically. Our mind has to comprehend, our bodies have to understand that we don't need all that. We don't need it. Right now, it's different. There's a tsunami, an earthquake, a tornado, a nuclear bomb. Of course, I'm going to feel anxiety, stress, and fear. It's like my life. It's like right. My family, my loved ones, my daughter Rish. I'm going to be like, I'll be a little freaked out. But is anything trying to eat you right now? Is anyone trying to kill you right now? Is anyone trying to hurt you right now in this moment? Right. It doesn't mean somebody might not try to do that as soon as you walk out the street. It's a jungle out there, but you'll experience that you are the unconscious cause of your anxiety, your stress, your misery, your suffering. And as soon as you recognize that and you understand it, you'll stop. Right? I think I was speaking with you yesterday. How many of you have ever poked yourself in the eye accidentally? You ever done that? It sucks, right?
Yeah.
How many of you have to stop yourself from trying to poke your eyes out? Does that ever happen?
No.
You think about, ooh, today after breakfast I'm going to poke my eyes out. You don't do that, right? How many of you tie your shoelaces together when you go for a run? You don't do that. As soon as you see that you are the primary cause of all your suffering, all your anxiety, all your stress, and that you're up here, man, you're at the Ritz Carlton, we're like above the clouds. This place is awesome. And you guys have done such a good job to get here. Do you need to carry the need to create the anxiety, the fear, the anger, the depression? What if it's just...
Sometimes you cannot control it.
Yeah,
Subconscious.
You
How do you
cannot
stop
control
it? Yeah, how do you stop it?
How do you stop it? As soon as you feel it, there's two things. First, you breathe through, and you know that you can break it.
So every minute you go.
Well, the first time you do it like that. Eventually, isn't it true that you were able to stop your mind for a moment just by stopping your breath for a second? Just, and then down, it stops, right? So the first thing is to recognize that it's being created.
Yeah, that we recognize.
Then the next step is you can go in and start deconstructing, go to the sources of it. You do that by journaling, you do dream therapy. I have a whole series of programs that I will also be putting on the internet for people to have access to. Right? And I'm happy to, if you're interested, one-on-one or in small groups, however you want to do it, I'm happy to share this information because it helps me to practice. And the truth is that the only thing that would make our lives better would be to have more happy, healthy, vibrant, creative, empowered people on this planet. That's where I've been at. I've been functioning from this state for 10 years. And when I met Jantra, she was ready to kill herself. She was at the edge. She had gone as far as she could go, and she was ready to try something new, and she figured it out. So then we thought, hey, why don't we just see if we can share this with anybody else? So we intentionally drove ourselves down to 0 to see what would happen. Here I am in Thailand, 6 months over my visa, with 0 money, doing nothing. I can get a job in 24 hours. I've got skills, and so does she. We chose not to. We went to Koh Phangan, to a little island, with just enough money for 3 months. We went down to 0 just to see what would happen. And our minds completely reset themselves. And suddenly, it was like the lights are on and you can see which way to go. And there's opportunities, there's massive abundance opportunities everywhere you go. And you can generate massive abundance without poisoning the planet, without hurting people, without exploiting people. There's so many ways to creatively and beautifully make the world a healthier, richer place. So we bought up a little broken down resort, 8 bungalows, bamboo bungalows that were going for $250 baht a night, as long as you buy rice, like fried rice from the restaurant. We bought that over with money that we had from people that started asking us to coach them. It cost us $5,000. So we put the $5,000 that we made, we put $5,000 into it, and within a year we made $50,000 of our program. We put it all in, within a year we made $500,000. So we put it all in, within 5 years, within 3 years we made $5 million. And then we came here to Ritz Carlton to learn how to share this with people who are already here. The fact that you can be fully present, mind off when you don't need it, 100% total mind power to create whatever you need to create, to have the best possible life experience. But for that, I had to go into my deepest, darkest fears. So you need to be able to consciously explore them. So how do you go and you meet your demons? Well, when you know that you can just breathe them away, then it's really easy to go and meet them because they're mental projections. We're creating this. And part of it is things that we've done personally or things that have happened to people that we love. And other parts are the fact that we humans, well, we've had 5,000 wars in the last 3,000 years. How's that? Pretty nice people. Right? And what are we doing to the environment? And what are we doing to what's happening in the rainforests around the world today? Like, it's just crazy what's happening around the world. Right? So, to me, this is a consequence of outdated programs full of bugs and viruses that are just running wild. We're not born. Nobody's born ready to go out and hurt someone or to be violent. We're all born ready to have a beautiful life. Look at any baby that's born. It's ready to have a beautiful life. And somehow along the way, we've learned how to create a mess for ourselves. And I've learned one thing, which is trust. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little weird, but I 100% trust all the governments, all the religious organizations, all the banksters and the big corporate interests. You know what I trust them to do? To keep doing what they're doing. In the last 50 years of my life, since I'm aware of what's happening, I've seen things just get worse and worse and worse and worse. So one day I decided I'm just going to do something for myself. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be selfish. I'm just going to have the best possible life that I can have without bothering anybody else. And then one day I realized I'm going to be more selfish. I'm going to go out there and make sure that other people can have the best life, because the only thing that makes my life better is more people having nice lives. And of all the people that are out there, isn't it true that those of us that have what it takes to work our way up to a place like this, that we're some of the most empowered people on the planet? Like we're part of an elite. Not in a bad way, in a good way. Just like some mangoes are more delicious, some horses are faster, right? Not all lions are going to be the alpha males. And not everyone's going to have what it takes to step up. But if you have what it takes to step up, and you've made it this far, and you're carrying suffering, anxiety, pain, fear, stress, insomnia, addictions, and you're carrying that, and you're still here, imagine what you could do if you could just drop the old crap operating system and just create something that allows you to step up, right? And you get to create it for yourself. It has to be bespoke, your operating system. And I'm creating programs, open source, online, so you can learn how to do it yourself. And I'm available for anyone who wants assistance in doing it, at any level. I work with people at all financial levels. Anyone decides what level of what neighborhood of the matrix are you going to be comfortable with. We get backpackers that are like $10 a day people that we work with. And then we get entrepreneurs, millionaires, people who are at a different level. They want to participate, they want to be active participants in the world of today. And they want to master the matrix, right? They want to be able to take the red pill, pop out, learn kung fu, come back in and kick butt, like take it over. Isn't it true that we need people to like run good businesses and good industries and good infrastructure? If not just for us, what about for our children and our grandchildren? So I'm specifically open, willing, and happy to provide support and assistance for anyone that wants to update yourself, reset yourself. Go out there and be the best version of yourself that you can be, knowing that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you'll probably need to update yourself again. Or 5 minutes from now, so then you do a quick update. All it takes for me to go from full-on meetings with lawyers, giving talks, presentations, creating programs, to being fully present, relaxed in the moment, it takes this long. Ready? And when I want to think, I do. And when I want to feel my way through life, because that's what this body does best, you feel your way through. You can think and you can feel. You don't have to always be thinking. That's like crazy. That's a little bit mad, right? So, and yes, there are situations that are going to happen right here, right now that will make you sad. Well, that's what you're supposed to be feeling. There's sad situations, but it doesn't mean you're overwhelmed. You can feel it. And there are things that will make you angry, will make me angry. I get angry about stuff. I like getting angry. It's not a problem for me. If there's a good reason to be angry, just watch out. If there's a good reason for me to be happy, watch out. I'll be happy too. Right?
Rafael?
Yes.
Why did you choose to come to Thailand?
from all your
In 1999, I came to Thailand for the first time in my life. I had traveled around Europe and North and South America. I'd been back and forth, traveling a lot. And I came to explore. And I came to Bangkok, and I spent 2 days in Bangkok, and Bangkok terrified me. Like I remember the first night I went out to walk around, a policeman walked up to me, stood right in front of me and said, "Do you want to go with my sister?" There was a picture of a young beautiful woman. I was like, no, that's no trick question. Like a check. It just scared me. So I went to Chiang Mai. And in Chiang Mai, I felt something. I felt something in my heart that I'd only felt in the presence of my grandmother. And my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, she was the only person that I ever felt open-hearted warmth from. I never felt it from my mother. I never felt it from my father. So I promised myself I would come back. And 8 years later, I came back. And the country had changed a little bit. Things were a little more challenging, but I trusted what I had felt originally, and I came and stayed here. It was here in Bangkok, just next to Lumpini Park in a beautiful apartment, that I discovered that everything's okay. I'm the only source of my own hell. I'm the one creating my hell. But I had to create a beautiful place for it to happen. So what we do is we have a beautiful retreat center. We've created a really beautiful place for people to come in and go through their deepest, darkest nightmares. Because think about it. If you're going to explore your deepest, darkest, yuckiest thing, where do you want to wake up? Dirty room with a dirty toilet with bad, or do you want to be in a beautiful place? If you can wake up from a nightmare in a beautiful place, it makes a difference. And we're in a beautiful place. It just doesn't get much more beautiful than Ritz Carlton residences. I absolutely love being here. I can go out into the madness of the world, and I feel it. We have mirror neurons. Okay? We're capable of feeling what other people are feeling. And it has an impact on us.
But Rafael, the yogis of India don't have all this luxury. They're up in the mountains, and they're doing their morning and evening on the
That's right.
side, and
that's
they're
beautiful.
very happy people. Yeah,
Yeah, they're happy.
they don't need all this. What you're telling me, right? Telling us.
That's right. That's right. But I'm the kind of person that likes to live at this level. So I find a way to be able to be a sky yogi, be a matrix yogi. This is what I'm doing. I enjoy living in this space. I love living here. I had my awakening here in Bangkok 10 years ago. By awakening, I mean I recognize that there's an intelligence, an intuition, a creativity that is available to me when my mind is off, my body is healthy. And there's 2 ways to do it. In a cave, in a park bench, with nothing, and that's one way to do it. And lots of people do that. And India has mastered that, right? But there's another way to do it. But to get to the top, you gotta work your way up. Which means you have to be the kind of person that takes massive action. If you're willing to take massive action, if you've had to work to get here, if you have to work to stay here, it means you've got what it takes to be able to have this level of experience. Down here it's fine, I have nothing against it. It's just this body wasn't born for that. My DNA does not accept that. This DNA wants to have, this body is here to have the best possible life experience. So it worked its way up, and it found a way. It discovered when you can go out and do everything you've ever wanted to do, that's when people usually have a crisis. That's when I had my crisis. That's when I just fell into my deepest, darkest hell. Because you've tried everything, and it hasn't helped you to be happy. And what are you going to do? Buy another apartment? Get another helicopter? Get another sports car? Find another lover? How's that going to make your life? It's going to, it's retail therapy, right? It lasts for a few minutes, and then afterwards you're like, because you did something. And mind is dualistic. This is what the yogis talk about. The mystics talk about how mind is dualistic. It defines itself by extremes. So every time you use your mind to do something to be happy, you do that with your conscious mind. Well, that's 10%. The remaining 90% is going to automatically, by default, make you unhappy. Or find reasons to be unhappy about something. Why? Because your coffee wasn't the way you wanted it, damn it. Because the elevator took too long. It's like, Okay, yeah, you can find that. I mean, up to you, right? It's your choice. You have freedom, right? You set out. We all have freedom. We can live the lives that we want. But it's an understood fact as of today that whenever you use your mind to do something to be happy, it's going to do something to be unhappy. It's going to balance out. So why not just take the mind out of the picture? Why not just do what it takes for the body just to be happy all by itself without the mind? And then create a mind for generating abundance, for making the world a better place. And I guarantee you that unhappiness and suffering is going to happen all by itself without me having to do anything for myself. You don't have to do anything to generate or create unhappiness. You're always going to find someone that's going to have a reason to be unhappy. But you're going to know the difference. Because I know my unhappiness, and I know my anger, and I know my sadness, and I know my guilt and my shame, because I explored it in a beautiful place. I can feel it in others. But I know that it's not coming from me. It's like when you're, on the BTS and somebody smells bad. You're like, it's not me. No problem. I'll get over it, right? We'll leave the station. Oh, next station, you're leaving. Like, whew, thank goodness, that stink is. That's kind of what the world is like for me. I go out there and it stinks. Emotionally, psychologically, socially, environmentally, it stinks. We're making a mess. We're polluting our fish tank, right? But that doesn't mean that it has to come inside. It doesn't touch my inner sense. My inner being is untouched by the outside world because I'm not creating it for myself. I'm not going to create misery for myself. There's enough misery out there. So, even if the only amount of misery you're creating is 1%, we'll get rid of that 1%. Imagine, paying 1% less taxes. That would be better. What if it's 5%? What if it's 99%? What if it turns out that 99.9% of all of your suffering, you're creating it unconsciously because in the first 5 years of our lives, we imprint all the behavior patterns unconsciously from our parents and our society. I'll tell you what I imprinted. My great-grandparents died during the World War II. They died in Auschwitz. My grandfather was the commanding officer that liberated Auschwitz. He also was a co-producer of the movie Casablanca. And he was a race car driver. He came back messed up. He found his parents dead. He came back messed up. He passed it on to my father. I was getting beatings at the age of 6 months because I would stop crying when I wanted to. My parents were unhappy. I picked up there was no happy people in my life when I was growing up. Only my grandmother. She was the only one that was happy to see me. I couldn't sing and dance and play because everybody was dark and depressed. They were carrying the weight of war. Chandra was born in the jungles between Thailand and Cambodia. Her mother was a refugee, a Cambodian refugee. Her family, there's body parts of her family and pictures of relatives in Cambodia at S-21 prison camp. She was raised wild in the jungle, lived through massacres. Her parents were in a war zone. Right? Her father was a Thai military man trained to assassinate, hunt down, and kill rogue Khmer Rouge agents. So who here does not have a father or a grandfather or great-grandfather that did not go through a war? So we're carrying this emotional baggage with us. It's deeply wired into our mind. And the way I grew up, being too happy was like, hey, what's wrong with you? You're like too happy. Stop bothering. Stop making so much noise. So I imprinted that. So I was pretty depressed and unhappy most of my life. Even though I made it to the top, I had the house, I had the cars, I had the lovers, I had the best parties, I had everything. There was a part of me that was just so unhappy. And when I put everything aside, and I went deep down inside, there was a part of me that wanted to self-destruct. And when I looked at it, and I looked at my life in a beautiful hardwood apartment, 100 square foot, looking out over Lumpini Park, I'm like, I'm going to self-destruct for what? I got everything. I have nothing to complain about. So I'm pretty sure, I'll just take it as a fact, that if you were to dig down and explore a little bit, you'd find some content, some programming that's less than happy. And what if that programming is running your life? Would you want that? Would you want your life to be subjective to from before? Well, there's so much junk and so much crap in the world right now. Wouldn't you want to clear out the junk so you can just be present in the moment? And you can be, because you already experienced being present from a state of mind for a split second, right? And here's what needs to be done. It's very simple, because it's a very good question you're asking. I need to ask you a very personal question. Do you know how many toes you have? You know? Yeah. When's the last time you counted? Not today, right? In the last year?
Still there.
They're still there, right? And what if, is there anything I can say to convince you that you do not have the number of toes that you think you have? Would you believe me?
No.
No. What if I told you, what if you lost a toe in the middle of the night? Would you not know it the next day? Would you like, you'd know it, right? So here's the next question. You know how many toes you have. Do you know all of your thoughts, your feelings, the source of your angers, your pains, your guilt, your shame? Like, you know how many toes you have? Or is there stuff kind of like spinning around, ruminating down there that you just kind of don't even know what it is? Right? That's like the yucky stuff. I don't know what's on there. That's kind of like anger, shame, guilt. Right? You don't. That's the thing. When you know every thought, every feeling, every experience that makes you feel the way you are, the way you know how many toes you have, you're free. Another very intimate question. Can you, with your finger, eyes closed, in the dark, without looking at a map and without checking first, find your belly button? Find your navel? You can, right? Can you find the source of your anger, your fear, your shame, your guilt, your anxiety, and your stress that quickly and that easily? Well, friends, you're missing out. Because when you know yourself that well, you're free. That's all that needs to happen. All the apps running in the background, some of them are full of viruses, they're full of junk. They need to be shut down, closed, deleted, exterminated. Then you're free. That's how it works. The only reason that somebody is unhappy, unless somebody's like stepping on them or something, right? Nothing's happening to you, and you're up here at the top, and you're less than, just wake up happy, relax, ready to have a great life, ready to go out there and make millions and make the world a better place. That's how I live my life. Here, a beautiful eco-luxury solar-powered retreat center in Copenhagen. We have a beautiful yacht, we travel. I don't have to do anything to be happy. This body it already knows how to feel happy. But so do all the birds, so do all the dolphins, except maybe some in captivity, right? So what if we're in captivity? We're in a cage, we're in a trap, and it's our minds that's doing it. And you guys are strong enough, you're capable enough. You have the drive to be able to make it to this quality of lifestyle. But you're still carrying the old program. Wouldn't you want to get rid of the program? Wouldn't you want to at least explore it and consider the possibility of going, I'm going to drop this down. What if I put this down? Because the truth is, if you wanted to, you can pick it up again. But I personally, when I'm walking around and I see a rusty nail, I never want to go step on it. It just doesn't happen. And I go pick it up and move it out of the way so somebody else doesn't step on it. But I don't go stomp on a rusty nail. I don't step in dog poo. I walk around and I'm like, right? So I don't create these things for myself, but I was creating them. And I was unaware of the fact that I was creating them until I took the time to create a beautiful place and go inside and look and see what's happening inside. But the requirement for that is to be able to stop the mind. Now you can go do Vipassana and meditation for decades, and you'll learn how to stop your mind. But you just took a breath and you discovered that you can stop your mind at the top and the bottom of each breath for a split second. So now if you're interested, I'll show you how to stop your mind for 5 minutes. That's a long time. Why? Just feeling good in your body, quiet. When you can do it for more than 30 seconds, more than a minute, you'll start seeing what comes back. Everything that comes back in, you get to go, I'm going to get the doorman here. This is a really good thought. I need to think about this because this is I'm going to make billions and make the world a better place. You are welcome to come into my mind. But this is an old, boring, stupid, crappy thought. Stay away. You have freedom to choose the content of your mind. You didn't when you were a child. But you're an adult. You're capable now of deciding what you're going to wear, where you're going to work, where you're going to live, where you're going to choose as a partner, as a lover, as a friend. Right? You choose, right? I choose my friends. When you were little, you couldn't choose. You couldn't choose what you were going to eat. You couldn't choose what you were going to think. You couldn't choose whether you wanted to go to the church or the temple or not. Right? We were forced by our parents. I was forced to do things I didn't want to do when I was a kid. I just wanted to be happy, and I'd get slapped for being too loud. That's not very nice. So I learned to, I'm just going to be quiet, shy. Suck my thumb, wet my bed. That was me when I was 10 years old. My parents divorced. I get beaten every time I complain about something. I'd be like, well, all right, I'm just going to do my own thing. Oh, if I sit quiet, I feel relaxed and at peace. All right, I'm going to do that. You people figure yourself out. Right? And then I figure, well, I don't want to be a yogi in a cave. Well, a sky cave, maybe. Right? Up here. So it's just a personal choice. Each and every one of you have the ability and the choice to choose what quality of life you wish to have. And I'm inviting you to consider that you could have the best life effortlessly. And then, if you're the kind of person that loves to take massive action, just imagine what you can accomplish taking massive action from a baseline that's already higher than the peak you can accomplish by suffering, by pushing yourself, by hurting yourself. Does that make sense? Shall I stop talking and we can go try? Would you like to try?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you so much for listening. It's my pleasure. Well, it's a real honor and a pleasure.